Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Matt's Mindset Monday. And I'm super excited for today for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're going to try a slightly new format. We're going to turbo boost this thing, and we're going to go through about 45 minutes worth of content in about 15 or 20 minutes or less. So we're going to try to keep the same impact in terms of what we bring to you in value and just condense it down, because we all know Mondays are a little crazy. So we're going to get you in, out, and knowledgeable as fast as possible. And today, I'm really excited to have Kellyanne Harris with me today. So I've been on her podcast. Obviously we do a lot of leadership and business stuff together. And one of the things that I absolutely love about Kelly is she has this really amazing ability to align organizations to a really big vision. And when you run as many companies as she does, it's kind of a learned trait. So Kelly, I'll let you do a quick little introduction. Who are you and what do you do? It's as easy or as fast as you can, because I know you
Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me. Big supporter. So I love trade back and forth. But anyways, Kellyanne Harris, live in Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm going to go really, really fast. Been in real estate. This is 12 years. Was the number one agent in my town after 3 years, then scaled to a team. We've held that position for now, 9 years. Opened up the Keller Williams in Owensboro. Then we opened up one in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and run the one in Excel in Columbus, Ohio. Matt and I together have opened up 9 locations together in 3-4 short years. I cannot even remember.
Yeah, I think it's just like 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 short years. We've opened up 9 locations. And have a property management company. I'm a mom of a 13-year-old boy who plays travel ball year round, and have a real estate portfolio now valuing $10 million. So that's pretty exciting. That's been a huge goal of mine that I thought I wasn't going to hit till I was 45, and I am 30. How old am I? 7 years old, be 38 next month. So do that, do a lot of nonprofit work, just whatever it is to make an impact. So
2 title companies, the list goes on. I think we did this as it was a OP of the year, by the way, in the Ohio Valley region. And as we were preparing for that, I think I lost count after 26 different entities at one point. And I added them up like 2 or 3 times and was like, all right, this is too hard. We're just going 25 plus. That's what we'll say. So,
yeah.
Obviously leading all these companies and some really big companies as well. How have you worked on and developed your leadership? Because I know something we talked about, like you haven't always been this level of leader, right? So
no.
Tell us what that journey's been like.
And I didn't even mention we have the number 1 team in our region, expansion team, and we did like 135 million last year of sales volume, and we're over halfway there already this year. So that's exciting, and we're getting ready to rebrand ourselves. So watch out for that. But I think that, we call this KPA assessment in Keller Williams. And if you were verifying my track record since I was a young woman, you would see that I always would scale to some kind of leadership role, whether that was in my sorority, whether that was playing sports.
Go Tops.
What'd you say?
Go Tops.
Yes, go Tops. Whether that was doing community service, whether that was in my school, there was always something I was trying to be like that leader in something. So I was always a leader, I feel like, since my youth, but I don't think I had the leadership knowledge. Like, I feel like when I first got into real estate, I was very, I did come from management. I was an on-premise manager at the age of 21 for Miller Lite Girls and bars and restaurants. So I will say I did have a lot of leadership then, but I still think that was more of like management leadership, more like, not that I was a dictator, but it, like, when you're in those roles, it's more of a dictatorship. Like, you're in that position, they have to follow your lead, where When I got into building teams and building brokerages, it was more of what can I do for them and how can I empower them to have bigger lives, so that leadership kind of changed whenever I was in my 30s, because I think that the world kind of changed on the baby boomer era was more of that manager style. And then now that millennials got into the arena, I think that the world changed on more of that pinnacle of success that John Maxwell talks about, is like people follow you because of what you've done for them.
Yeah, it's about going from that positional leader to that permission-based leader and results-oriented leader. And 5 Levels of Leadership is the Maxwell book that she's referring to. Great read for anybody out there that's in a leadership or has aspirations to be in a leadership position. So
yeah, but I've always like done therapy, done counseling. I go on retreats. I try to get in the room with other leaders. Leadership is very lonely. It's one of the most selfless. It's a hard job. And some days I go to bed, I'm not lying, and think, what the heck am I doing? This would be a lot easier if I wasn't leading anybody. Because it is very thankless. It's a very, very, and you cannot do it if you are a words of affirmation kind of person like I am. That's my love language. You struggle in a leadership role because you do not get a lot of words of affirmation. You do occasionally, but not like you did whenever the world was just about you. And so I had to really work through that, since that was a lot of my love language, because it did become very, very lonely in those positions, and still is lonely. So.
Yeah, especially with the amount of people that you're leading. And one of the things that I absolutely love that you do is the ability to go out and cast a really big vision about the future. No matter how good the company is doing, there's always an evolution that is taking place, and getting staff aligned and on board with the vision can help when you're going through changes, because people can be, just as humans, we're naturally reluctant to change. So can you talk a little bit about how a vision has helped align staff, whether it be in the brokerages or any of your other businesses?
Yeah. So when there is no vision, people will perish. Y'all know that that's scripture. You have to have a vision. I teach teams that are building teams. Like, they'll just start building teams and start putting people on their teams or in their organization. And then they wonder why they attract a person that they eventually outgrow. And it's because that they didn't jot down where they're going. And people want to know where you're going, and they want to see themselves in your world. And it's as simple as an organizational chart. What does your organizational chart look like today? And what will it look like in 5 years or in 10 years? And then those people have to see where they can go that. Just like when you're coaching, let's talk about Peyton Manning, football, his football coach. I'm sure that his football coach has got this big vision of how far Peyton can go with his career. And he's not going to go follow someone, a coach, that isn't going to take him to where he wants to go or the idea he has for them. So I think sometimes we just start businesses and we're just starting them because we're trying to fund our own life. But then we don't think about the people that are in them with us on where they can go with us. And you have to incentivize all your people, and you have to show how far they can go, or they're not going to care about growing your company.
Yeah, it's all about building your Disney, right? That's something me and you talk a lot about, and it's validity and vision. And that's the validity gets you into the conversation. The vision attracts people and retains people. So I love that. Now, when you're talking about a company as a whole, so that was leadership, right? But as a company as a whole, I think a big vision is really important so that the company can get on board and on the same path. Talk to us a little bit about what a vision can do for an organization as a whole.
So Matt knows, because he's been with me for a while, and a lot of my people have been too. And my vision changes. The vision of where we're going on to stay on top and to have successful businesses and to stay on top of the real estate industry, that never changes. How you get there and the vision of how to run towards that vision is going to change several times, because we are, we're at the mercy of the market. And so sometimes when I change the vision or change the course, my people will buck up against me. I mean, it's just normal. because it's change. But you as a visionary have to know to keep going. And I'm a big believer, like the Lord gave me these visions. The Lord gave me the way to figure out a path, how to make it. And so I've got to trust him and my gut on how to get there. And then I've got to go reteach it to my people. And one thing that I've had to get better at is I can work up a lot of stuff in my brain, but I'm not very good at articulating my message. So sometimes I have to have people like my Matt Browns, my Gabrielles that help get what I'm thinking out and get it on paper, because not everybody will take in the information that I say the way I project it out. And so as a visionary, it's really important to make sure you have other people on your team with you on this ride to make sure that they articulate what you're thinking. Because I'm really good at saying the vision, but I'm not the executor. I've never been the executor. I just find really, really talented people that are better at executing than me. And then I'll keep doing that vision. And we heard, I was in Gary's Keller's room in Austin a few weeks ago, and I sent it to Matt, and I'm a wartime leader. So that's how I operate the best. And Matt is a peacemaker leader. He's really good at that role, and I'm really good at the wartime. And so it's funny because like I am that's the only way I know how to function. And so like I got to figure out how to start businesses and freaking break them apart and tear them back up. And to some people that drives them nuts. So I think that's why I have so many companies, Matt, is because I know not all of them in war all the time, but I can switch to which one is in war and I can go tackle that one. So,
and so for clarity, when we talk about being in war, it's about the evolution of the business and needing to change the path in order to due to whether it be the industry as a whole is changing or a competitive model or something along those lines. And being able to dive in and provide direction and big vision, so that we get everybody executing outside their comfort zones. Because it's easy when the economy in your particular industry, regardless of industry, whenever it's going really good, it's easy to just not dive into those details. And hey, everything's flowing good. You're setting records. Income's good. All these other key metrics that we follow are great, but a lot of times that maybe some little minute details are getting missed. And whenever you are forced to change, it's when you get to really step back, look at that, reevaluate, and then execute at a higher level. And I think that's something that you excel at. And the vision that you can bring communicated down to the executors, to go through and put that throughout the whole organization is the key piece. And then knowing and being in business with those people are, a crucial part. So I think you've done a great job of finding talent to help you communicate and execute the vision in multiple different companies, not just me with the brokerages, but you have that person in every single company.
Yeah. You got to know what you're really good at, and you don't need a bunch of Kellyanne's working together. You need other people, because that's just the role that I play in these organizations. And I'm a startup. I can start up super fast, but I can't maintain. I'm not a maintainer. That's not who I am. And I'm not going to, I think it's really important to figure out who you are in the business and zone in on that level of genius with you, because I don't ever want to be in business and be the smartest person in the room. I want to be in business with a bunch of smart people that are smarter than me. This is just what I'm talented in. And I'm going to go find other people that are more talented than me in these other avenues.
I love that. And speaking of change, tell us a little. So whenever you're feeling that a company needs to go a different direction, tell us a little bit about kind of what do you do to develop that, that feeling, or if you will, or how do you get away? What do you do whenever you're developing a new vision for a company?
So, I can feel it. I'll get out of whack. I get a little unhappy, a little grumpy, a little on edge. Matt knows. I'm like, like it just kind of happens. And I'm like, hold up, Kelly, like you were out of whack. Something doesn't feel right. Something's not going right. So I usually just get out of town. I'm usually by myself. I don't like to be with anyone that are on any of my teams. In the beginning, I thought I was hurting people's feelings, but it's just what I got to do. I got to get away. I got to be by myself. I got to have those moments and be like either in rooms with people that are thinking bigger than me, or just like on a hike or on the beach or somewhere by myself. I feel like that is where I have, and where the Lord talks to me, or my soul talks to me, or, my mind does. And I start having clarity around where I need to go. When I'm here and I'm in the day-to-day grind, I cannot see through the forest. So I have to get away to get that helicopter view, kind of to think of what my next action step is on where to go. So if you follow me, I'm a big traveler. And for a long time as a leader, I felt guilty about being away from my office and to be away from my people. But what I've learned is I'm more creative when I have more brain space on my calendar than a full space. And so you can get more work and more creativity out of me with less time on task on the working in the business. And so I think like something I've really focused on this year is now I have Thursday and Fridays or just whatever I want to do, whether that's think about a next retreat I'm planning. It's not that I'm not working. It's just time where I can be creative, because my creative brain is like what really empowers myself and empowers other people. And I owe it to myself to spend those 2 days doing what I do best. And that's like forward thinking. So I do 3 days, I work in the business, and then those 2 days I work on the business, or I just take some time with my kid or myself, and I don't do nothing because I might need a break. So
I love that. And it's funny you bring that up, because that's something me and you and my coach, Terry, were working on a couple months back. She's like, your calendar's too full. Like you go back to back to back to back to back meetings. Like, when's your thinking and planning time? And usually it's late at night or on the weekends previously. So time blocking that into the schedule and front loading the week is something that I've been adopting. And just in the last 2 months, I've seen a huge change in my productivity, because now I'm not only creating, the execution pieces and the plans late at night when I'm tired and my energy isn't good. I have it spaced throughout the day and throughout the week to ensure that I always have time to go execute the most important things. So that's good.
yeah, and I do that with my people too. Like if they need a break, let them go take a break. Unless we're like super behind on a project and we have a deadline for a project, I'm usually very laid back about, get out of here. I can feel it. I think I've had that conversation with you many of times.
Right. I've been kicked out of the office a time or two. Like, hey, just go home, go spend some time with Jen, which is awesome. Like, but that's you're right, because you got to get refueled. Even as a leader, you have to get refueled, right? And the candle, when it's burning from both ends, eventually meets, and then there's nothing left. So if you're not pouring into yourself and working on yourself, not only from a learning standpoint, but from a relaxation and a retreat away standpoint, then you're probably not operating at optimal levels. So you mentioned something I want to touch base on. This the last question is, if somebody is having a hard time developing their Disney, their vision for the future, what do they do? And I think you said something I just want you to touch base on one more time. You get out of town, but most importantly, you get in other rooms with people who are where you're wanting to go. So can you touch base on the importance of being learning based and getting in other rooms really quick before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think too, it's funny, my coach and I were talking about this. Like, I think people are too cheap when it comes to this kind of stuff. And sometimes those rooms you can't put a value on. And it's funny, we'll spend money on this, like we'll spend money on a vacation, we'll spend money on some kind of material thing, but yet we won't drop $1,000 or $2,000 to go be in a room with people doing it bigger than us. And being in that room could quadruple our business. But we think about how much things cost. And so then that limits us from getting in those rooms because we want to be cheap. And I don't know if you can put a value on that. Like, that is something I work into my budget. Like, I am going to go be in those rooms, even if it costs me $10,000 to be in that room, because that $10,000 could take my businesses and double them. It will. I have seen it happen time and time and time. And it's just something about being in those arenas with those people that it's not that the people that I work with every day don't get me there. my job as a leader is to get in those rooms so I can help the people that I work with every day. Like, I know the girls on my team, Amber, she's like, will you leave again? Go again, go. Like, they love
That
it.
ceiling off, right? Like get the
Yes.
ceiling off it and just to be able to
Well,
have limitless possibilities. So
well, they have like all these goals and all these ambitions, and they want to get financially where they want to go. And the only way they get there is if the company grows. So for me as the leader, I got to go get in those rooms so I can figure out how to get the company to grow so they can achieve what they want to achieve.
I love that. I love that. I could sit here and talk to you about this for days, and I'm in a fortunate position that I get to talk to you about this every day. So I know our audience there, there's 100 comments already. I feel like Cheney, yes, we'd be more than glad to talk to you about this at any given time. Just get a hold of me. We'll schedule something. Everyone else, thank you for tuning in. Kelly, thank you for sharing in a very compacted but powerful message the importance of vision and how you get there. So I think the key takeaway is if you don't have a vision for where your company's going or the company you want to launch exactly how to get there, go build your Disney and start with the organizational chart, but don't end there. Talk about where you want to go, key metrics, and talk 3 to 5 years out, because people often overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate in what they can do in 3 to 5.
And I got one thing to end, and I got to get to closing myself, but don't be afraid if you are having a hard time with that vision. Partnerships can be very, very powerful if you are the right partner for someone and you find the right partner. I mean, Matt and I's partnerships, if it wasn't for Matt and I being partners, the companies wouldn't be where they are today. And so partnerships with the right people can be super impactful, and you should want a bigger pie and not all the pie. So I'd much rather have a big pie with a small portion than a small pie with all of it. And I think sometimes we get reluctant to going into partnership with people when partnership can amplify all of us, because we don't do all things. Like, we're not good at everything. So.
And take personality types and key skills into account when creating those partnerships. Partnership of two alike people will never go as far as opposites, because like you said, visionary, executioner, things like that. So go pay attention to what your strengths are, and then go hire people that are better than you in other areas. So
yep. Thank you.
Yeah, no, love that. Appreciate it. We'll see y'all next week for Matt's Mindset Monday.